It is an amazing time to be a consumer of content. So many options, so many shows to recommend to coworkers that they don't actually end up watching. How are you enjoying Dairy Girls, Robert Brokamp?
I watched one and I quite enjoyed it.
Okay.
But
that makes me feel better. It only took me 10 years to get, not 10 years. It took me a few times of recommending Dairy Girls.
I was having that conversation yesterday with Matt Greer, telling him about all of these latest and greatest HBO shows that he needs to watch. And I'm sure he'll probably get to one of them at some point.
Maybe.
It's just too much.
It's too much. There's so much. And it's only getting crazier. That, of course, was Jason Moser piping in, by the way. He's joining us today because this year and also closing out the year, there's going to be a lot more streaming platforms available, which is going to put some more pressure on companies that have been longtime recommendations at the Fool here, like Netflix. And so today we're just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some of our options when it comes to streaming video and investing in these kinds of companies. And really, how does it look for Netflix? Not good.
Well, I mean,
we can get to it later. Yeah. We can get to it later. I don't know. So from the research I did, every article I read, I was just like, ooh, oh, ee. But I don't know Netflix.
I'd say it's a more challenging environment today than it was 5 years ago. How about that?
For everything. Just for everyone, all the time. All right, well, let's start off by talking about Disney. Of course, Disney earlier this year, actually just, last month, 2 months ago, announced Disney Plus was coming. Mm-hmm. So let's head to the tail of the tape. Disney Plus is going to launch on November 12th, so it doesn't have any subscribers to talk of yet.
Well, that's not true, actually, and I'll explain, but keep going.
Okay. All right. Content will include Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars stuff, 20th Century Fox, movies, 25 original series, also National Geographic. It's expected that Disney Plus will have about 7,000 television episodes and 500 films. Iger says eventually the whole vault, yes, the whole vault will be available on Disney Plus. All right. So how much is Disney going to spend? Well, they're going to spend about $500 million in original content for the service, but obviously they're spending a lot of money on content all the time, everywhere. The Mandalorian alone, one of the Star Wars TV shows, is going to cost $100 million. So that $500 million might be a lowball offer if just one of the original series is costing that much. Price will be $69.99 a year, or about $7 a month. You can also do a bundle with Hulu, which Disney has recently taken control of, and also ESPN Plus, and that will be $12.99 a month. So that's the tail of the tape for Disney Plus. I think as both a lover of Star Wars and a parent of a 6-year-old girl, we are going to be running, not walking, to sign up for Disney Plus.
Well, I fully agree with you, and as a parent of two older girls, we've got a freshman in high school and an 8th grader.
Wow, I can't believe your oldest is in high school.
I know, and every birthday they have reminds me that I had one too. There's a lot of content though that they want to watch on Disney Plus as well. So I think they've done a good job of building out this offering that is going to scratch an itch for everyone, so to speak. Going back to just the subscriber count that you talked about a little bit earlier, Disney did something very clever at the D23 conference this year, where they release all of this information on what's going on in the Disney universe. And so, of course, D23 had much to do with Disney Plus and the content that's coming out. And they offered pre-subscriptions. You could sign up in advance. And not only that, they said if you sign up for 2 years, we'll give you the third one for free. Ooh. So they really were working on pulling the levers to get those subscribers in there early. And by all accounts, it's worked out pretty well. It certainly overloaded the servers and shot everything down for a little while until they got back in there to fix it. But it does sound like a lot of people are as enthusiastic as you and I would assume Bro's probably pretty enthusiastic as well.
Very much so about the Star Wars. My kids are probably too old for the Disney stuff. But
how about the High School Musical series?
But see, I might just have to convince them that they still like Disney just enough so I can get the Star Wars stuff.
Well, but this is where I think they've been so clever with this whole thing, because Hulu has obviously been around for a while. Hulu has had a few different iterations, and now, I mean, what they've done with Hulu is actually pretty clever with this Hulu Live offering. It's essentially cable light. It's a much more affordable package than your traditional cable package, and it really focuses on the content that people want to see. And it's a lot easier to use and to sign up for and manage. So you've got Hulu, you've got Hulu Live, now you've got ESPN Plus, and you know, for a guy like me, I mean, I went to Wofford College. okay? Very small school. We had one heck of a year last year for the basketball team, but really most of the games for Wofford, for example, are going to be on ESPN Plus. So you get that bundle together. I mean, I'm there. And at $12.99, it's a no-brainer. I'm doing myself and my family a disservice if we don't sign up for it.
It's like abuse, really.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a Costco membership and Amazon Prime. If you don't sign up for it,
are you even American?
Exactly. I mean, what in the world is going on? So, I mean, this all goes back to, it's been a while. We've been talking about this stuff for a while, what Disney was planning on doing, and now it's coming to fruition. And man, it really looks like it's going to be something pretty impressive. November 12th being the drop date for Disney Plus, and it's not all going to hit at once, but that's going to be the neat part, is they're going to build this service out over the course of many, many years, adding content and, believe me, raising prices along the way. And that's really the genius of starting this price point so low. It's going to bring a lot of people in. And then they're going to get in there and see how much they like it.
Yeah.
And then over time, they're going to be able to bump those prices up slowly but surely and convince you that the value proposition makes sense. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why we're all pretty optimistic about it right now.
What happened with the stock price? How's Disney's share price been doing? Because we bought a while ago, and I don't know. I feel like I've just been waiting and waiting for Disney to just take off because of the optimism I have in the company, and it just hasn't.
Well, the problem with Disney's stock is not going to be something that just takes off overnight. And part of that is because a lot of it's already known. There are not a lot of secrets there, right? I mean, we understand kind of what the business is about and the different ways it makes its money. Now, I do think that we've seen over the past several months, particularly 2019, it's been a pretty good year for the stock. And because we've seen a lot of certainty come down the pike here with all of these new offerings that they're bringing out. So we're starting to see a little bit more clarity as to what the future holds, and it's exciting. So we've seen a little bit of enthusiasm in the stock price, but really Disney is one of those stocks where you have to look at the 5 and 10 year holding period. Being one of the first stocks that my daughters bought, for example, I think they've owned it ever since 2012, and it's up about 150% or something like that. But you would never know it unless you actually went in there and really calculated it out. It's kind of slowly but surely winning the race.
One of the big themes, of course, around streaming video is the whole idea that content is king.
Yeah.
And boy, Disney has... they are king of content, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they are. You're right. I mean, I think that's the advantage they've always had, is that they own all of this IP. And the IP that they didn't own, they went out and acquired it, whether it was Marvel or Pixar or most recently Lucasfilm. They've got something for everyone in that regard.
Simpsons.
Yeah, and now 21st Century Fox. And so they have so much in that regard. And that is going to be something that really fuels this engine for a long time to come. Now, on the flip side, you see something like Netflix, where Netflix was never really the content king. They were just getting content from everywhere else and basically aggregating it. And where Netflix really scored was on the distribution side. I mean, they saw early on the power of the internet and how to build out an internet TV service. So you have content being king on one side. Is distribution king on the other? I don't know. I kind of like to say if content is king, then distribution is queen. And really, we all know that behind a good king is a better queen. You have to have both, is really ultimately what I'm saying here, Alison. And Disney now is going to have it.
But
both ways.
What's harder, to create good content, consistently create good content, or to create a platform when people can reliably watch video?
I think once you nail the platform, you've nailed the platform. I think to build out sustainably good content that keeps people coming back for more is probably a little bit more difficult, particularly if you don't own it and you have to figure out how to create it. And so that's going to be where I think Disney has a leg up there, because we've seen with Netflix getting into that original content game, they've had some hits, they've had some misses. HBO has been doing that for 40 years plus, it seems like. They've certainly got it down to a science where they produce a lot of great content as well, but even they're not immune to the occasional miss as well. So distribution, I think, for the foreseeable future really is going to be pretty much as we see it today. It's mobile, it's internet, it's catering to where we are and whatever we want to watch it. So now it is going to really be more about the content, and it certainly looks like Disney is got the advantage there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on and let's talk about Apple TV Plus. All right.
Apple
because Plus is the new
Yeah.
I think it's like everything's this plus, that plus. So something we're probably less excited about.
I would say less excited is probably an understatement for me. I don't really I'm not quite locked into the value proposition yet here. I admire Apple for a lot of reasons. I do feel like they really dropped this TV ball so long ago that there's really no getting it back. Now, I mean, let's be clear. I mean, this is a company that could just stamp its logo on a brick and probably sell 3 million of them, no questions asked. So, I mean, there are going to be plenty of people out there that love Apple. They're going to think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they're going to just justify it however they're going to do that. I don't see it yet. Now, that's just from the Apple TV interface. From the content side, we've seen at least one show that they are going to be bringing to the market. It's some newsroom type morning show drama or whatever. And I mean, I guess that's fine, whatever. But, the content discussion we're having here, I think Apple is going to discover very quickly that it's difficult to do, and it's difficult to do sustainably, even if you have a lot of money, and it costs a lot of money. And you need to be careful getting into this because you need to understand the strategy and why you're doing this, because you can get caught spending a lot of money on that content really fast, and you can kind of go down one of those rabbit holes. It's very difficult to get out. So frankly, I feel like this is not where Apple should even be bothering. I don't even see why they're bothering with it, but I almost feel like they're doing it because we expect them to do it, kind of like with the watch or with this credit card. It's just, to me, it's meh, whatever. Well,
they've got enough money. I mean, they might as well just throw some money at this, right? So, all right. So, Apple is only investing $2 billion a year in original content. So it includes an Oprah show, a Spielberg thing, the aforementioned morning show kind of comedy that you talked about. I think it had stars Steve Carell and Jennifer Aniston. And big names. I mean, they had big names at the launch, but it's... I don't know.
I just don't know what audience that's really trying to capture it. I mean, Oprah certainly is.
It's Oprah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Oprah. I mean, she's obviously carries a lot of sway there. But I mean, she's worked, I think, for some time on her own network, the Oprah Winfrey Network, and I mean, that was never anything that really changed the world either. At some point or another, people's flame kind of flickers out. I mean, I feel like Oprah probably is closer to that than others, but again, I mean, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. All right, and it's rumored that it'll eventually cost $9.99 a month. So
doesn't sound like a very compelling price, particularly when you compare it to Disney and what you can get from all of those 3 different channels. And really, I say 3 channels: and ESPN and Disney Plus and Hulu. But remember, Hulu is far more than just one channel. I mean, Hulu kind of like an aggregator in that Netflix sense. Also, their own original content, and they've brought some good stuff to market there as well. So from a value proposition standpoint, the Disney offering certainly seems to be a lot more compelling than the Apple one.
Yeah. We also have coming down the pike, which we're not going to dig into, HBO and Warner Media. They're going to launch a new streaming service.
Oh, yeah.
NBC Universal is launching a streaming service in 2020. Viacom and CBS apparently announced a merger, and so they're going to be doing something too. That it's really becoming kind of this walled gardens, as I heard someone reference it, where everyone has their own walled garden of content, and you've got to pay to get into it. All right, let's talk about Amazon really quick. All right, so tail of the tape, Amazon Video, of course. Amazon's in a unique position, considering this is kind of like here, we'll throw some video content at you. Why not? Amazon Prime has about 100 million members. So content on Amazon includes a fair amount of originals like Marvelous Miss Maisel and Fleabag, HBO series that are more than a few years old, and kind of a random smattering of stuff. Amazon spent $6 billion in 2018 on original content and plans to spend another $6 billion in 2019.
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique strategy because on the one hand, they're trying to convince us that their Amazon Prime Video offering is strong on its own. But then, you mentioned the HBO shows and other different network shows where they'll offer you perhaps a season or 2 of one of their best shows. Mm-hmm. And the idea is maybe they can talk you into signing up for a subscription for something like HBO or Showtime and getting that subscription through your Amazon interface. So similar to Hulu in that regard. Hulu's got the same kind of thing, and I mean, I definitely don't blame them for doing that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, most people, once they've joined Amazon Prime, they're going to stick with Amazon Prime. They're going to see that video product as just one more value add. It's not about offering up the best and most award-winning shows that they possibly can. It's about giving the customer something that makes them feel like they're getting value out of that overall relationship. And so for Amazon, it's a much different end game. And I think that really goes to show sort of the value in being more than just a one-trick pony when it comes to this video streaming game, or wars, as some might want to call them. I mean, I think when you're a one-trick pony, you got a lot more on the line. Your successes matter a lot more, and so do your flops. But when you have other ways to make your money, or other things that you're doing in with the business, you can be a little bit more experimental and try new things and get away with it when it works, and kind of make us forget about it when it doesn't.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of one-trick ponies, it's time to talk about Netflix.
Yeah, it had to happen eventually, right?
All right, here's the tale of the tape. 60 million subscribers in the U.S. and 150 million-ish worldwide. Of course, the content includes a lot of original programming and also a lot of licensed stuff. Licensed by people like Disney and NBC. That's what's keeping Reed Hastings up at night, huh? The cost varies, but most people pay about $13 a month. So I thought this was interesting. Apparently everyone already knew this, and I'm the only one who didn't know this, that even though Netflix spends, like 12 to 15 billion on original content?
It's about 15 billion annually now, yeah.
Yeah, that actually what most people are just watching is The Office and Friends and stuff that's licensed.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound like the data supports that. I mean, I can tell you just from our household of 4, we easily, I mean, I think The Office probably gets the most play on our Netflix subscription as compared to any other show on there. And I mean, content is it's interesting in that everybody's got an opinion, right? Content is art at the end of the day, and everybody has an opinion on art. I look at Netflix and I personally think, you know what, the content for me, there's nothing really, I don't think it's all that great. I'm more of an HBO guy. I always have been. I think they have better shows. There's an occasional Netflix show I watch. I mean, but, I think it's just for a long time, Netflix was really the only player in the space. I mean, they defined this space. They invented it, and they've ruled it forever. And so you can't take that away from them. I think that what we're seeing now is a natural consequence of more competition entering the fray. And I think Netflix is going to have to think about how they are going to change their strategy a little bit. They're already making some adjustments, and they're focusing a little bit on spending less on content instead of trying to just throw this big wide world of a million different shows out there and have a little bit of something for everyone in the world. I think they're trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about the content that they make and make a little bit more quality stuff that attracts an audience similar to something like what maybe HBO does. They are looking at potentially, instead of releasing every show at once, releasing them in batches, like 3 or 4 shows at a time over the course of a month or something, so that the shows can live a little bit of a longer life. You were talking about the Mandalorian, I think $100 million. You think about how much money you spend on some of those shows, some of those series, and if you do 10 episodes and you drop them all at once, and you have people watching this entire series in a matter of a day, and then it's gone, it's over. Not only is the series over, but people aren't talking about it, and so you need to figure out a way to draw that conversation out. And so I think Netflix is looking at trying to do that. They seem to be very committed to never introducing advertising to the platform. That was a question that was brought up in the most recent earnings call. And I think that that's the right thing to do. I think that if they ever tried to bring advertising, it would run counter to what Reed Hastings has been talking about all this time in producing just this experience that's not cluttered by it. It's interesting on their shareholder letter. I noticed this, and Hastings said, like HBO, we are advertising free. Now, that's true to an extent, but remember, HBO is owned by AT&T, and AT&T is not advertising free. There's a big advertising revenue component to AT&T's business. So HBO and Netflix really are not playing the same game from that perspective. HBO can hide behind the big corporation. Netflix, unfortunately, can't. And I think the questions regarding their finances are fair. They have a lot of money that they owe. They're going to have to keep paying a lot of money for content going forward.
$4 billion in debt in the last year. And they've got $18 billion plus in content obligations right now. Yeah. They're going to have to continue to pay a lot of money in order to develop new content. And, by the way, a lot of that stuff that they've
built this business on with the Marvel content and whatnot is now leaving because of Disney. So there are a lot of questions as to the Netflix for investors. I think personally Netflix is always going to be a mainstay. It's going to be a staple of people's streaming subscriptions. I think people are always going to subscribe to it because it's a great value proposition. Now, as an investor, I think you have to be asking the question, how much more can they raise prices? Because I don't know that they can raise prices a whole heck of a lot more if the content is going to be just kind of what it is. And to put some numbers around that, if worldwide they have around 160 million subscribers today, if they increase that just $2 per month, seems pretty reasonable. It's probably where people might start taking notice. That's $320 million per month, around $3.8 billion per year. That money has already been spent. And that's just a hypothetical. But that $3.8 billion doesn't even come close to continuing to fuel that engine. So you can see the challenges that they have on the content front. And so that's why I just say for investors, I think that's one of the things you have to kind of keep in mind there, because I think it's going to become for Netflix more about how much more can they raise prices, less about how many more subscribers can they add.
Well, I saw an interesting quote in Recode talking about all these new streaming services coming out. It said, if you want everything, you'll need to get Netflix and Hulu and NBC Universal's thing and AT&T's thing and Disney's other streaming service. And it's funny because we got to this place, I think, because we all wanted to cut the cord. But now we're getting
thinking the same thing.
So much
What
money.
was the point of cutting the cord, right?
know.
It was convenience. It was getting what you wanted.
Only
but
pay
really,
for what I want.
It was paying less, right? I mean, you're paying the cable company $200 a month for all of this crap that you never watch. And then you're beholden to the cable company with this box in your house. And if it breaks or God forbid something happens, then you got to deal with the cable company. And so, the streaming, the over-the-top movement here is helped from a lot of perspectives. I mean, now you don't have to worry about the cable company, and that's great. But the cost argument has disappeared more or less, because like you were just saying, if you want to watch all of your stuff, basically now you're getting close to that same $200 cable bill as you were paying for before.
What I need is for someone to disrupt delivering internet to my house, because I still have to pay Comcast a ton of money every month just to give me internet so that I can then get all these other streaming.
Well, I think you're fair, and it's a fair statement for you to say something like that. I think people feel the same way probably about Verizon. We get our internet from Verizon. And when we moved to a new house a few years ago, I told Verizon to cancel my cable. I just wanted the internet. And of course, they tried to offer me cable for basically free, and I turned it down because I don't want to deal with them. The less I have to deal with them, the better. But slowly but surely, they are raising the price on the internet, and therein lies the value of being the company with the infrastructure that delivers that so valuable wireless connection. I mean, they have it. They have a big leg up in that. So whether it's Comcast or AT&T or Verizon, having that infrastructure is so valuable. And again, I mean, those are companies that exist for investors. And they can be great investments. They're not stocks that'll double overnight, but you see companies like that, they're able to pay out really nice dividends over the course of time because there is a level of certainty to the business model. I mean, what they're providing us is really what is making this earth turn, more or less at this point. So they can continue to offer up nice dividends without having to worry so much about the debt levels because they've got a pretty reliable revenue stream. So those can be good investment ideas as long as you understand the purpose they would serve in your portfolio. It's more of a slow and steady dividend payer that you want to hang on to for many, many years to really realize the effects. All
right. Well, what's your bottom line thoughts as we enter this exciting war in the battle for our eyeballs?
My bottom line thoughts?
I don't know.
Well,
sum it up for everybody.
My bottom line thought is beyond just video streaming. I think entertainment has turned into a market opportunity that is one that investors cannot ignore. I think that we go well beyond just, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, we were just talking about Netflix and kind of that being the future. That future is now, and we're seeing a lot of competition in the space on the video streaming front, but we're seeing so much more happen, whether it's Amazon trying to bring hardware into your house or Apple trying to bring hardware into your house, Microsoft developing a gaming platform. I mean, we're seeing these big tech companies trying all of these new things because they're all competing for our attention. So there are a lot of different ways to invest in it, and I think that's the bottom line, is to really try to step back back and see the entertainment industry for what it is, because it's much more than just video streaming. I mean, we're talking about everything from the technology to the delivery of that technology to the content behind the technology. We've got an environment now where gambling is becoming legalized virtually everywhere. I think it's just a matter of time before it's everywhere. Gambling is legalized, and that adds a new dynamic to sports. Advertising is a tremendous driver in the entertainment industry as well. A lot of different ways to invest in advertising. So that, I think, is the ultimate takeaway: is investors need to look at entertainment as a massive opportunity, identify the different pillars that are really driving that entertainment industry, and start figuring out ways to invest in those for the long haul.
Which is why we're going to have you back on the show at some point here to talk about another component of that, which you mentioned, sports, esports, video games, all of that.
There's all sorts of stuff to talk about.
A lot to unpack there. It's crazy what the kids are looking at these days. All right, Jason, you want to stick around for a little trivia? See how smart you really are?
Well, I can tell you I'm not that smart, but I will stick around.
All right. Well, we talked a lot about a number of video streaming platforms and companies, but one we didn't talk about because I don't really understand it, because I'm old, is that's YouTube. And obviously I get YouTube. I get YouTube. I know what it is. I understand it. I don't think I watch nearly as much YouTube as the kids watch these days. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to ask you some trivia questions about YouTube and see what you know. Did you know that in an average month, 8 out of 10 18 to 49-year-olds watch YouTube?
What does that mean? Like they watch a short video? Or
Anything. They just watch it. Then
I believe it. I posed the question to my daughters. If you have YouTube and Netflix, I'm going to take one away from you. Which one is the one? What's the one you want to keep? And they both said without even hesitation, YouTube.
Yeah, I could totally see that.